Good afternoon. This is Isaac with Programmable Audio. I'm going to do Mix with a Noob episode 16, editing vocals part 2. And you may notice that the sound is a little different today. I misplaced my little USB interface for the mic in, so I don't have my little lav mic. So I'm relying on the computer's internal mic. I did a test before this and the sound was okay, so I'm just going to roll with it. I cannot find it's this little dongle, it's about that big. USB on one side and audio in and out on the other. And I remember seeing it in the morning one day. I brought my lav mic with me into my car to do a recording for a podcast, and I don't know what I did with the device. So I searched my car. I can't find it. So the voice is going to be a little different. Hopefully it's loud enough and clear enough. I think it sounded okay when I did a test. So, all right, let's get started. Before we get started, today is my day off. I do have to go to the gym. I didn't have to work today. Yesterday I worked overtime, so I did 5 days in a row, or 6 days in a row. So today is my one day off, which feels great. So I get to relax today and mix some music and clean the house and stuff. And then I get to go to the gym in about 75 minutes. So throughout the video, you may see me drink some water. I need to get hydrated before the gym. I'll try not to be too loud and obnoxious with my water drinking. So let's get back on these vocals. I had a thought. I realized that what I was trying to do was get rid of some of the echo, the reverb tail on some of the syllables. Let's go back. I think it was right here at this spot. Let's hear it again.
From digging holes.
And so let's see what we had set up. We put some, looks like it actually was back here. See where the automation is there? Solo this too, so that comes up. Okay, so vocal verb and vocals are soloed, so we can hear them. When we have this automation here in place, let me put it up in the left side of the screen as I promised, because you can see it better. I don't think I can make it go any further up, just like that. So this cut here with automation, this pink box with the lines and the points, what that does is cuts the EQ. It makes this dip that you can see in the EQ right here. So what I realize is what I could actually do is just a high shelf and have the high shelf, the frequency slide all the way over instead of the amplitude. So I'm going to go ahead and clear this envelope. I'm going to delete this point here. I'm going to disable it. So if we have this point here, number 4, if we just slide the frequency of it, see how it kind of, it does like a scoop. So we could actually automate this so that it does a quick dip and cuts out like most of the high end, because I believe, let's listen to this little section again.
Bone.
No, that's not where we were. No. That's not where we were at all.
And breathing in foreign mold. Bone.
It's right here.
Holes.
There it is. Holes.
Holes.
That makes like a bzzz, like a really, I really don't like that sound. And it's not a big deal in the mix, but it's there and it's present. And if I can hear it when I'm doing a critical listen, then the listener will hear it too. So let's just try what I suggested. Let's go ahead and turn our automation back on. And this time we're going to look at the frequency of point number 4. Last time it was point number 3. And where is it? Actually, no, now it is number 3. Okay, or no, it's still 4. Interesting, okay. Let's make sure we're doing it on the right. Yeah, it's vocal verb. I might have turned the wrong one on. Alright, so it's EQ, and it is frequency. Oh, see, gain, frequency, high shelf, gain, high shelf. So if you have it set to high shelf or low shelf, it doesn't say 2 or 1 or 2. It actually, so let's change this to, let's change this 4 to just a band. Alright, so I switched, instead of high shelf it says band, and let's go back into automation. And see, now it says 4. Gain, so frequency for band 4, Q for band 4, or, yeah, frequency, gain, or Q for band 4. But let's switch it back to high shelf. Go back into automation. We know it's the high shelf. And like I said, we're going to affect the frequency of it. We want the frequency to slide this way. We want it to go like this. Oops. We'll have this all the way down. just like this. Leave it right about there. Okay, so you keep snapping back because we have the automation on, and once you turn the automation on, wherever this line is set is where this will be set. You can't come in here and make manual changes. You have to change them with this line now. So that's one sort of factor in automation. I wouldn't say it's a weakness or a downside, but you just be aware that if you set up a lane here for this point, you can no longer manually move this point until you clear that lane or disable it. All right, so let's go ahead and disable it because I want this to start out like this. Start out like that, and gain. We're going to affect the frequency, and so we're going to hover over the line again, and our little tooltip tells us that it's set to 23086, and we only want to affect like maybe this much of it. We don't want to affect too much of the word before it. Let's see. Yeah, so that's about good. And our little tip from last time was if you click this, boom, it puts 2 points where your selection window is. It actually puts a total of 4 points, and then it lets you slide down. So I think, and here's what you do. If you put the play cursor inside there, as you make the adjustments, and if you have your EQ window open, I'll put it up here, top left. I'm getting better. Remember to put them up there instead of behind where my picture is going to be. If we move this up and down, you can see the changer actually going to affect in the plugin window itself. So we're going to cut it like pretty drastically to like right there, and then what we can come in here and do is make it so it's more of a gradual shift instead of an abrupt, sharp change. So it's sort of steep like this. And then we'll put another point like this and just make sure that it does go all the way to 0 for a portion of it. And these points we can all move around. That doesn't have to be set in stone, but that's sort of a starting point. Let's give it a listen. So that's better. I'm going to put both ears in, and I'll try not to talk too loudly. I won't talk like an ogre with my, no, you can hear me. Okay. Right, so we'll bypass it and enable it so you can hear. Here is bypassed. Remember that harsh, it sounds almost like a C, an S and a Z kind of combined. And let's turn it on. It flattens it. It just flattens it. It just takes the wind out of the couple of, so it's, your initial sound, souls, that breath of air at the end, you have an initial, which makes it sound like souls, the word souls. Because remember, if we trim that off, just like we did with holes, if you trim that S off, you change it into the word soul, and that's not a good solution. So we want that S to come out, and then the reverb grabs that and bounces it around to imitate a space or other type of reverb. So we're just kind of squashing those few extra reverberations that make it go zzz, that make it kind of buzz. Excuse me. That'll help keep my voice nice and lubricated too. All right, so that's good. Let's I want to do the same kind of thing for whole. Let's see here. For this one too, and I think maybe we cut too much of this off. Let's give it a listen. I need a little more volume. Excuse me. And I think I actually have as my system volume turned really low. Yep. Alright, so that's going to be louder for you too. Hopefully that's not too much. Let me back it off. Let's go to like 40%. Now let's say 30. So that hopefully that's not louder than my voice now. I just need a little more in my headphones. I can turn it up on my speakers over here. Okay, so part of why I want to cut this off too is you get that little click. You get the clicking, which again is microphone or headphone bleed. Alright, so same thing. I do want to cut that's right about here. So let's do like a window like this. And again, we touch the button. It conveniently adds our 4 points. And we just drag it down. And then we're going to make this like a more of a gradual drop off than a sharp plunge. which I don't think really matters that much. Let's do it both ways. Oops, I have my repeat on. You don't want to do that. Man, that click, wherever that click is really noticeable. It's like right in there. I bet if we make this large enough and zoom in far enough, we'll actually see the click. So I think the click is actually right here. It could be that that's the click. In fact, let's test it, and the way to test it is just get rid of it in the wave. I'm going to completely remove my crossfade. So this is going to be an abrupt stop now, which is going to sound unnatural, but if we lose that click, we know that it's contained right in that little part. Yeah, it's right there. And so now if we let's go a little bit out, and we should probably hear the click. Yep, it's got that right at the end. So that's really unfortunate that that's in there. So this is something that I can picture a YouTube tutorial on, like an hour-long one where someone's really diving in deep with the vocals, and they don't like that click and they really want to kill it. And I think we probably can do that. So what I'm going to actually do, I'm going to try to do some like real precision cutting here and see what we can do to make it a lot cleaner. So I'm going to find a spot here that's closest to 0, and I'm going to split it, and then really getting better at not saying slice it, getting better at saying split it, which is actually what it is. Okay. So the first thing we can do is we can turn this volume quite a bit down. So we're just, crushing the wave there. And do a bit of a fade out right here. See, unfortunately, I don't think there's any way we're going to actually get rid of that click without killing the S. The only thing we could try would be something like this. I'll just do this briefly. I don't want to spend too much time on this. I'm going to highlight a section. I'm going to right click. I'm going to do copy selected area of item. Then I'm going to place the play cursor beyond the item, and I'm going to hit Control V. And now we have a pasted version of the tail end of that. Let's just listen to it. Yeah, see, it doesn't really have... Okay, this one you'll have to mute. So what I'm going to do here is I'm holding down Alt, and you see how that turns into a hand? What that means is it's actually going to stretch this little clip that I just created. I'm going to do a crossfade over this. So this is going to kind of extend that note. It's going to sound... This is not going to sound very good, I predict. But, let's see here. Okay, that's not terrible. If you notice what's happening. Let's just do a loop of this little area right here. And let's listen to it in the mix. So I kind of stretched out I cut and then stretched out this last note over it. And I think I probably was a little too heavy-handed with it. So let's actually undo all that. Let's go back. Okay, that's before it was stretched. Oh yeah, that was ugly. Sorry. So now we're going to be missing this. You know what we could actually do is take this from somewhere else. Alright, so what I'm going to try to do here, because I want this note to hold out to about the same length of the clip that I chopped, which I still have sitting over here muted just in case I need it. You can get rid of it at any time, but I kind of leave it there until I know for sure I don't need it. So here's another modifier. Hold down Control over something and drag it to the right or left, and it creates a duplicate of it. So I'm gonna kind of layer these, and we'll see how this might sound terrible as well, but these crossfades kind of take care of a lot of that. All we want to do is just extend it long enough so that it's roughly the same length of what we cut. Even though this, let's return this wavelength so we can see it. Whoa, that was too far of a scroll. There we go. Okay, so this one that we have muted, where is it? There it is. This one that we have muted, and I muted it by dragging down from the top. If you hover over the top, you get the double arrow, drag it down. You see how it just completely dissolves the waveform there? So this one is largely silenced at the end, but there is this length from here to here. Let's see. Let's look at our measurements. So that's 15 milliseconds. So we want to make sure that we have at least 15 milliseconds. We're getting close. 15, right about there would be the end. So let's put this crossfade in. We can put another one in. And I think with this kind of thing, the more you overlap and let those crossfades do their work, the better. The more, I mean, it's not going to sound. We'll see what kind of sound we get. I mean, ideally, you want it to sound natural enough. You don't want it to sound too fake, but you are manipulating the wave, so there's going to be a little artificial sound in there. Yeah, see, that's not, it like jumps up too much. I bet there is probably a much better way to do this out there, but I'm not aware of it at this point. I haven't really looked into this. I've seen a couple of... Okay, so these, what I'm wondering now is if we can glue this. Let's try gluing it. Right click, glue items. Where are you? Glue items. So there, it fixed, it got rid of all the crossfades, and now it's one thing. And if it still has that stuttering sound, yeah, it does. So we're going to undo that. That didn't really work. That's just an experiment. And again, 10% of what you do should be experimenting. To teach yourself new stuff, try stuff out, try ideas out. There's no harm in it. You can always do this and go back. Just mess around if you want. Try to keep it, quick. So I'm actually going to go all the way back to where I first sliced it. And we know that doesn't work. So that's where I first sliced it. But we can just really curtail the amount of volume that comes off of this. And we want to try to squash that click without getting rid of the S sound. We're still trying to hold on to the S. This is giving me trouble. Okay, so what happens is if you put too much of a crossfade in there, now you can't grab the total volume overall. It's a little awkward there. You're hovering, the way you hover has to be kind of precise. There we go. Change the shape of this too, which we learned in the last one, right? Let's make this one look more severe. There you go. See that? All right, let's see what just that does. And then again, let's listen to it in the mix because we don't mix into a vacuum. I think that's probably okay. It makes the note like fade out pretty. Like you definitely want to hear this. So here's the other thing we can try, because this one is the word bones, right? Or souls, and then so there we have a without a click in it, without an obnoxious click. So let's do like a copy and paste job. And I tried this earlier with kick, and I didn't have luck. So again, we right click, copy selected area of items. Then we put the play cursor where we want to dump this. I'm going to hit Control V for paste. So let's move this completely out of the way. Okay, so this, if we're lucky, this will just work, just something simple like that, and it'll sound great first try, but there's a chance probably not. Actually, that's not terrible. This could probably benefit from, actually, let's do this. I'm going to trim this back just a little. that sounds great to me. We got rid of that click. I'm going to go ahead and right click on this, item settings, and mute. Now, here's a thing that I learned. This is a good tip, and this applies to all of mixing. This is not a vocal editing specific thing, but if you're planning on silencing a part, muting it, in your mind you might be like, I'll just delete it. And I used to do that a lot, and it came back and bit me. So now what I do is I just right click and I mute the item and I leave it in there, because you never know when you're going to need to come back and get it. This was true of lots of different bass parts and things that I wanted. A specific example is I laid down a bunch of bass lines over the click track and vocals, and they were all perfectly in time and well, and they sounded great. And then later I wanted to come back and redo them because I figured out my signal chain better and I had a better bass tone. Well, I came in and right away said, oh, I don't want any of these bass parts. I'm going to delete them. Delete, delete, delete. Turns out I had a hard time remembering just how I was playing those parts. And so, regrettably, I had deleted them. And I believe I deleted them and closed the project. And so it was hard for me to just put the parts back in there. Because you can always re-import as long as you don't clear them out of your folder. I may have actually cleared them out of my project folder. So my advice is just mute it. Right-click, item properties, mute. You can always come back and unmute it. You can leave it like almost right where it was, and you'll have that item in there. Better than regretting it and coming back later and going, man, I really wish I had that zzz with the click in it. I mean, this is a bad example because probably not going to ever need that little part again, but you never know. All right, so let's listen to the whole part again, and we'll do it out of the mix and then in the mix.
Poisoning our brainwashed souls. Blistering from digging.
Ooh, there's a little in breath right there.
Blistering.
Let's cut that back a little bit.
Blistering from digging holes.
All right, now one thing I noticed, that we added in is too loud. It doesn't match up with the preceding clip's volume. So we just do something like this. We just kill the volume by, and this is actually handy if you look right here. Let me put it to the right so it's not behind my photo, my camera. Come on. All right. So you can see the waveform here. It's slowly tapering, and then oop, it has that jump up again, and that's what my ear is hearing. So you just hover over the top of the clip. You have to remove the crossfade first, because now if I hover over the top, I'm just getting the crossfade. So that's hover, get your crossfade, move it out of the way, hover again, there's your double arrows, drag your volume down. And because Reaper actually adjusts the way the wave looks in the lane, you can actually get it to be almost exactly, I mean, this is what's handy, is this visually it shows you how low the waveform is going to be cut to. And then we can put our crossfade in. Now this is something that's awkward, is you'd think that if you lowered the volume line down to here and you'd hover over here to get your crossfade, but it's still back up in the corner right here. Alright, so let's listen to this. See, that's better. Maybe even a little bit less. Alright, now out of the mix. See, that sounds okay to me, to my ear, raw, but again, I don't want to listen to it without hearing the mix. So here we go. That's awesome. I'm totally happy with that. It goes back to the episode that where I talked about light effects, where we've edited the vocal and we've sort of addressed some problem areas, but it doesn't sound artificial. It doesn't sound like auto-tune or that I'm doing any kind of fancy, heavy altering of the vocals. Still sounds natural, but sounds better to the ear. So I'll go ahead and end the tutorial there. So that ends part 2. We did a little bit of, we did some more EQ automation. We actually changed the characteristic of how we automated. We slid the band the frequency of the, instead of affecting the gain, which was in part 1, we actually had it affect the frequency. So it kind of slides it back. So I'll hit play and we'll watch how that works. Wow, that's not good. That's good that I checked that. Let's bring this up because that is not what I intended to do. Let's see here. But again, just a quick note before I end. The advantage of doing this on its own channel is that I'm not actually affecting the EQ of the vocal. So the clean vocal still comes through. It's the verb that we're messing with the EQ. So it's just cutting the tail of that EQ off in the higher ends. But you notice, because I had this all the way down at the bottom, this went completely over. And it's still actually going too far for me. That's I didn't know it was done that much. And that's just enough to get that zzz sound. This is going to look the same. That's weird. Let's bring this up. But this is what I want to have snap on. Be careful again with snap when you have automation, because I was not able to move this line in a nice way. It was snapping to the grid. So let's see if this is more like what I had in mind. Because you don't want it to be too. All right, yeah, you don't want it to. We don't want that frequency to slide all the way over and completely kill, like completely take all the air out of the reverb, but we do want it to cut off right when that zzz sound hits, so it's not sharp in the ear. And I'm pretty sure that's exactly, to my ear, that's exactly what we did. So yeah, and then again, we came in and we sliced. We took the zzz sound off of the soles, which didn't have that click in there, and the click is microphone to headphone bleed. So as he was singing that day, he had not this pair of headphones, which are kind of like sound isolating. They're like a combination of ear protectors and headphones. They're really nice for like when you're tracking drums or vocals, so that the sound is isolated. It both isolates the outside sound and whatever's inside coming out. So he did not have those on, and the click track, which was coming in through his ears, came out his earpiece and went into the microphone. And we hear that a lot of other places in the vocals, and it's something that I'm going to go after. I have to go after. So the next step I'm going to do, I'm going to go one by one and do this kind of same cleanup for the entire song. And you can see that's quite a bit of chunks that I have to actually work on. And then in the end, I'll glue them all together so they're one piece. So that concludes episode 16 of Mix with a Noob. That's vocal editing part 2. Thank you for watching. I'm Isaac. I'm your noob. For programmable audio. Please subscribe to our channel. Give us a like. Share us around with your friends, anyone that could use this video. And leave us a comment if you want. We can always use the feedback to improve for future episodes. Thanks for watching. Later.